Salutations, all of you beautiful people out there, and welcome back to Joygasm, a video game and movie podcast. I am Russ, and he is Steve, and it is a pleasure to see Price and Soap once more in episode 295 today, November 3rd, 2022. We're going to be getting right into our topic of the day, which is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 impressions. So there's no need to fast forward whatsoever. In fact, instead, what you could do is set your iron sights on that subscribe button and throw a knife at that notification bell. That way you will not miss a single solitary episode of Joygasm, which drops once a week each week. Steve, it's been a moment since the last time either one of us has played
COD.
Call of Duty. Yes, a COD title, as it were. I think the last title that I played was Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
Oh, yeah. The last Call of Duty I played was over here, and it was when they brought in like the dude with the big sideburns and the chin sticking out. I think you were in London. I think it was in 2019. It was the one after the one where it's like, oh, here's like a 10-minute story campaign, and the rest is multiplayer.
Oh,
it was the one after that one where they went back to like, okay, here's a full campaign along with the game.
Was that the one that was Black Ops? Call of Duty Black Ops or Black Ops 2, something like that?
It could have been, Russ. And you know what's all about Black Ops and all about Modern Warfare?
It is indeed. It is indeed. They did go back to a little bit of the World War II
That was a little
action.
That was a minute ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I have that one.
It's a little difficult to know. But yeah, I know the one you're talking about because I, too, was a little bit surprised about how short it was. Like the campaign was like done in the blink of an eye, and you're just kind of like,
I guess we'll play multiplayer now? What do we do?
So actually, yeah, like that is the most recent title probably because obviously I bought it and you came over and checked it out and stuff. And I did not play that game for very long. I mean, I fiddled around with the multiplayer a little bit. I'm just, we'll get into that a bit later. But anyway, here we are a bit later. Infinity Ward has come out with their latest offering. And so I'd say we've probably, if I had to guess, you and I have put in roughly, 4 hours of campaign-ish?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Not each. Well, yeah, each. I would say 4 hours. Yeah. I would say I put in about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Where are you at right now in the game, Russ?
So I'm doing a mission with, as Soap with Price.
Taking a shower, right?
What?
You had some soap, I don't know. Got to get clean, Russ.
There was no dropping of the soap with Captain Price.
I am soap on a rope.
Oh. No. No, I'm on the mission where we're doing a lot of sniper work, where we're wearing that. I don't know what the proper term is, but it's like that hardcore sniper. Like it looks like you're wearing like grass on you. Like you look like you're one with the earth. Basically, like if you lay down, people can't even see you like hardly at all. Like you have to really be right on top of them in order to see. Anyway. To give you a better idea, there's like these fishing factory things. And so you're picking off people. You're kind of learning how to use the scope. And essentially like within that mission, there's like a lighthouse and you're trying to find some crates and stuff. So that's basically where I'm at. Are you there? Have you passed that part? Are you not there yet? Where are you, Steve?
I don't think I'm there. Where I am is
the title screen.
I put start and then I went to bed.
I'm still reading the Yula.
Yeah, speaking of which, there's like 6 of them. You're like,
I know.
You agree to this? You agree to that? You agree to this? I'm like, I paid for the game. I mean, did not say I agree to everything. I mean, what if I don't agree with it?
I had to change my password. You know that EA has, or not It was Activision. Activision has, or was it? No, EA is not a part of this at all. Activision had, both EA and Activision have these like really involved like EULAs, and like they try and get you to sign up and like, oh, we need you to have a profile with us. And it's like, I already have a profile with Sony and Xbox. Why do I need a profile with you guys?
You don't. I never set anything up.
You didn't?
No.
You didn't send in
Just
like a
B button, hit it out there, and you brought it back to the screen. Start. Let's get it on.
Well, I gave him my email.
Nice. Hey, you want to buy something?
Anyway, yeah, no, it was worthy of note as to like just how many screens. It's like, do you guys get sued? I think that's the only thing that comes to mind is like, I have a feeling that maybe the team has gone through multiple attempted lawsuits or something. And so they're almost forced to like have gamers say, I agreed. Like, I mean, who has time to read all that?
Yeah, I know, especially when you just bought the game. You want to play it, not like read, all right, I'm going to be here for the next 6 hours. Okay, what do they mean by... I don't know what that word is.
Or like you lose your place because there's so much text on screen. You're like, uh-oh.
Start over.
Yeah, exactly.
So where I am is I'm in a plane and I'm shooting down, like giving cover fire to the team, essentially. And I can make it like, infrared and stuff. That's where I'm at, Russ. And I'm kind of stuck there. Because the guys are on the roof and I got to give protective fire, blah, blah, blah.
You keep getting shot by the missiles coming at you, huh?
No, I don't. No missile has ever hit me.
You're not that far then, are you?
I know they're shooting missiles at me. I don't know. And I keep on throwing out like,
the flares
to knock the missiles down. But what happens is, like they're like, oh, they're coming out of the school. They're coming out of the school. I'm like, where's the freaking school? Because like I've gotten circles around like, oh, zoom up over here, zoom up over there, zoom over here. I'm like, I don't know where the school is.
Yeah.
And so all I see is like little white, infrared symbols walking around. I'm like, I'm trying to take out everybody, and my team keeps on getting annihilated. And I'm like, screw it, I'm going to bed.
The pilot of the aircraft just has his hand like on the left turn. He's like, anytime now, anytime.
Man.
I did find, because I know what you're talking about. I had some of the same struggle, but I realized that the parts, or I should say POI, that's short for points of interest. That's right.
That's right.
They do this like subtle, like it's almost like a yellowy, greeny color.
Yeah.
That's like a yellow greenish tinge rectangle around the area that you're supposed to focus on.
Sometimes, yes. I've been looking for that for the school for the longest time. Maybe they're doing it, I just don't see it. Because they have done it. I'm like, where am I supposed to go? Oh, there.
They're coming out of the school. It's a third world country. I don't know what the schools look like here.
What is it on Johnson Street? What am I supposed to look at? And so, like, even with the missiles, I didn't know where the missiles are shooting. I'm like, okay, I hear something. It's firing from the opposite direction. And I see this little, like, I'm going to get hit, but at least I know where they are. Anyway, so that's where I'm at. I've died probably a dozen times, and then I just gave up.
It does take some time.
Yeah.
So,
but that's where I'm at, Russ.
I understand. It did take me a little bit of tenacity to get past that, because like first of all, that mission's pretty long.
Yeah,
you're flying around there for a while, and they keep having these new types of POIs they want you to focus on. And then my thing was like I kept like shooting at civilian buildings, which like you instantly fail. It's like an insta fail if you like hit any of those buildings. So
you can blow up the roads plenty.
Yeah,
missiles, rockets, whatever. Hit a building. Return to base.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
RTB.
But that type of level in particular is kind of one of the tried and true bedrock levels of COD. Like that's definitely like nothing new. They're not breaking any new ground with that particular level, but it's a very satisfying level. I think that's why it has stood the test of time, really, is that everyone just loves that. It's such a unique level, and you really do. I mean, like, it's crazy how the U.S. military has had that particular aircraft in service for decades. It's been there for a long time. That's a deadly aircraft. I mean, if you think about the type of air support it gives, it's pretty scary stuff. And it's a prop engine plane. It's not even a jet. It's like one of those like,
not even quiet.
yeah.
You hear something? No, I don't hear anything at all. There's like some big dragonfly in the air.
Must be a horsefly.
Are we supposed to be quiet on this mission?
Yeah.
No, not even remotely close.
We don't need to be.
Stealth ain't a part of this one. No. We want them to know we're here.
People on the ground are like,
oh, man.
so let's talk about the graphics of Call of Duty. Call of Duty has always been a tour de force. You ended up downloading the game and installing it before mine was done because you only installed the campaign itself.
That's right, Russ.
I ended up installing the entire thing, multiplayer, all the content packs. I mean, it took me like an extra 30 to 45 minutes to get the whole thing downloaded.
Is that so?
But I remember you texted me saying that the visuals were impressive.
Yes.
Care to expand on that there, Steve?
It looks like the Unreal demo. Kind of that we saw way back when,
Yes.
demoed on PS5. That's what it kind of looks like. So they drop you kind of in a ravine. And you're walking around, and you're just looking at the rocks, like, why are we even fighting? Everything is so beautiful. Well, I'm just going to just lay my rifle down and just like be in awe of the. Does anyone take time to look at this rock? You know, just how old do you think this rock is?
And you get like selfies, you're like,
with the lighting is perfect.
yeah.
I mean, so if you get close to it, it does look a little blurry.
Yes.
So, I mean, but that's always been the test. Like, you know, everything looks great far away, and then you get close, and it's all not pixely.
It just a little kind of like a slight smearing or slight blurriness, like you said.
Yeah.
And the lighting itself, I thought it was interesting to look at the visuals from the standpoint that clearly some of those levels, like the first one that you're talking about, is based in this very like, it looked like it was like 1 p.m., 2 p.m. I mean, the sun is like beating down. It's as bright as it's going to get. So, I mean, it's super bright when you're not in the shadows and whatnot. And so you're looking at all those textures and the photogrammetry modeled rock fixtures and surfaces and that sort of thing. I was comparing that actually to A Plague Tale Requiem, just because the first level of that game, you know, you're outside. It's same
afternoon.
Yeah, like kind of like 2 p.m. ish, something like that. You know, real bright sunlight coming down, really hitting all the different props in the environment. I feel like A Plague Tale Requiem in some cases actually looks better, but I have to put a disclaimer on that just because this game is first person.
That's right.
So the camera is going to be automatically closer to that stuff. I mean, I suppose if you were like rotating the camera, you're rotating the character, you could kind of get close to some of those textures, but honestly, it's harder overall just because the camera is farther away.
Sure.
You're over the shoulder as opposed to being like right there. But anyway, please continue, Steve.
So anyhow, I walked out there and did my thing. How many times did you have to shoot that missile? And that was kind of annoying. I don't know. It was like, I have the reticle in the other reticle, and I'm like right there, and it's a missile. You think it's blow everything up in sight, and it's like, oh, you missed, start over again. And I'm like, I guess I'm a little bit low. We're aiming for a person.
Yeah.
We're not aiming for like a truck. And so,
well, I mean, you could have. I mean, it's basically a truck. I mean, the missile has like an area of effect that is pretty wide.
Pretty much, but I mean, you don't know that until you're right up on it.
Yeah.
And so, there were plenty of times where like I'm pretty dead set on this thing, and I think by like the 7th or 8th time, I just went, I'm gonna aim higher than lower.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and I'm like way off, and it's like, oh, you got him, boom, done. I'm like, okay, well, aim high, I guess.
My situation with that was, and this is actually a note I wrote in my list of notes. There is something interesting. Here we go.
Yeah, the opening was over here. was about to like take a drink and be like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Missed the opening there. Missed the hole.
I have a stain on my shirt for the rest of the
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, what I was going to say was the issue that I had with that particular part of the game was as the missile is in the air and it's letting you know, oh, you can control the missile. There's a little rectangle dialog box that comes up that says press X to invert controls of the missile. As you are well aware, I'm one of those weirdo types that I like to invert my controls. The problem was that it wasn't actually responding. Like I'd be like, oh, okay. So I press X and then I start to move it and it's still the original setup. It didn't go into inverted mode at all. So I had to like repeat at least 3 or 4 times in a row with myself, just like thinking, okay, I'm pressing X. And now I'm thinking I'm inverted, and then the missile goes because I'm trying to make it go up, and instead it goes down, and so it keeps blowing up like within the ravine. And this is something that like I'll revisit with you a couple of times throughout this podcast, just because there is. What was that?
That's the water just bubbling down.
Sounded like an alien from Star Wars.
Just a couple crabs I got living in my throat, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, what I was going to get at was the fact that I love like the setup, right? Like I think it's really exciting. You don't know who behind the mask. You didn't know that it was Price who was behind the mask. As far as you're concerned, you're like, okay, clearly it's a British soldier, but we don't know. We haven't been properly introduced in the game yet at that point. And so I'm loving the setup. I'm loving like what's going on. And then you have like these American allies that are like launching this missile, and all of a sudden it gives you control of the missile, and you're like, oh man, like, it's exciting. The problem though is that because the response is kind of clunky within the game itself, I began to lose that excitement because I was too like distracted in trying to get the inverted controls on the missile to actually like function, like actually activate. And so I ended up doing that one missile part like you. Like, I mean, I probably took me about 6, 7, maybe 8 times. I honestly lost track because it kept blowing up. And I was streaming. I was my first experience with the game last night during our stream, which I'll put up as B-roll on this podcast. But did you watch any of it?
No, actually, I was about to interrupt it because I didn't think you were going to do the stream. I thought I was going to do the stream, and so I went to Twitch, and I was literally about to hit start broadcast. I'm like, hey, someone already typed out Call of Duty. So I'm like, went on my phone. I'm like, I wonder if Russ is on it. I'm like, sure enough, he's there. I'm like, okay, I'll put everything away.
Yeah.
I'm not going to interrupt the stream.
I was going back and forth with like, do I sign into YouTube or sign into Twitch? And I had a feeling you had already started playing Call of Duty before streaming. And I just wanted to make sure that we could capture like the initial first levels and that sort of thing. So I'm like, I'll get in there and do it. But anyway, so yeah, that was kind of that experience where like finally it did happen. You're like, man, like if only like that activated successfully on the first attempt, it would just be like butter and have the whole kind of prologue level, so to speak, finish up and me just be on this like really excited high, like, whoa, man, that was crazy. That was insane. But I was like, anyway, and I'll come back to that in a couple other instances. Sure. But please, Steve, continue with the graphics.
I don't even know what's wrong with me. I don't know, Russ. It's been a long week. Anyway, so yeah, you have other examples where like the night lights are pouring into the windows, and you got tile, and you got the plants and stuff. Everything just looks really colorful and smooth. People's expressions, I would say, have taken quite a notch up.
I think they're actually using actors. The general, of course. I mean, we've seen him.
Oh yeah,
in like a general role
in Transformers.
He was.
That's
Yeah. He was in Transformers. And he was in Friday Night Lights, but he wasn't a general in that. But he was a police officer. He plays a lot of that kind of law enforcement, strict, old school, military type roles, which is fine. I mean, I think he's perfect for the role.
He was in a couple of the later, like the last 2 seasons of 24 as an aide to the president. Secret Service or something.
I think I recall that actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen that wonderful show. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I have a feeling that probably most, if not all, of the characters that we come across, I think they are definitely based off of real life counterparts. There may be some exceptions with like Price and Soap. I'm not sure if they're actually based off of real people or not. I'll have to look into that.
Probably are.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like all the cinematics. I mean, it's very professionally done.
Yeah. No, it's good. The missions, I don't know what's wrong with me. This is terrible. The missions are really like, some are smooth, some are quick, some are hard, some are like there's a bunch of random missions. Not a bad thing. But what do you think of all the missions they've been giving you so far?
I love it when you ask me questions.
Not they're not all straight up.
Love it when you ask me questions.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I've been really enjoying the missions. I think that it's a direct result of the unfolding story. And, you know, if we wanted to pivot really quickly onto story based off of what I've seen so far, I've been really enjoying it. I think it's cool to, like, you know, you have this type of Middle Eastern antagonist that we're finding out about. He has a beef with America, and
you don't say.
Yeah, I know. Surprise! But you know, it's not just one dimensional in the sense like we have someone from the Middle East and then they hate America at the end. You know, like they definitely are exploring this concept, this idea of having multiple nations, not necessarily the national governments that we know of yet, but more of like you have like the Mexican drug cartels as a different type of evil partner, and then, you know, going on from there, you're realizing some of these other types of setups and situations that, I mean, quite honestly, I could see actually happening. I mean, it's not too far fetched to look at some of the different ideas that they're presenting in this fictional story.
That's true, Russ. I will say it seems like, and this is not a bad thing. It just seems like from other Call of Duties I've played, this one seems a little bit less intense.
Less intense?
Like another day in the office kind of deal. Does it seem that way to you? Or is it seem, I mean, it didn't seem really like they're building up towards, you know, something really serious out. I mean, yeah, they're taking out a terrorist, for crying out loud, but it doesn't seem as intense. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I think so. One of the main strengths with the Call of Duty series is I've always really liked their stories. Like every one of their stories I've been a fan of, and it's kind of cool because like they fuse it. It's like a hybrid where it's a continuation from where the previous games have left off. So it's like, you know, you have like a history with Captain Price, for example. And they introduce some new characters here and there, that sort of thing. But there is this kind of overarching like continuity that they honor. At the same time, though, like they have their own unique kind of situations that unfold for the gamer within each one of the Call of Duty games. I think it's great. I think it's super cool. This one is no different in the sense that this one seems to be kind of more of a slower burn. I don't want to like mischaracterize the game at all because the game is definitely fast paced. It definitely has all kinds of stuff going on. But in terms of the story, because you're right, like sometimes, like I remember playing Call of Duty. I want to say it's Infinite Warfare. I think it's the right way to
probably
say
right. Yeah.
But I mean that particular game, you know, from the get go, I remember walking out and it's in the future and you're taking in the sights. I mean, like it was amazing. Like the cinematic spectacle of what they created with just that first prologue level, so to speak. And then you're just immediately thrust into like this warfare because of this attack on this military base that was like in celebration and what, I mean, it just had more of that grandiose kind of like, what is happening? You know, kind of thing. So I think it's cool. I think having variety within the story is great. I'm sure that this is going to continue to like drop little breadcrumbs as we go along, and so you're going to have little twists and turns. And I don't know. I'm enjoying it.
I like breadcrumbs.
Indeed, I like cookie crumbs more.
I want a healthy kind of diet, Russ.
Yeah.
Take the bread.
I see.
Yes.
Carb it up, huh?
That's right.
Get some carrot crumbs instead. Easier to track. Orange. Anyway, I am also very impressed by the graphics. This is by, no happenstance. It's no surprise whatsoever that it's a Call of Duty game. I mean, come on.
That's right.
They're all very impressive graphical
They do a good job.
The forces.
Yes.
They do. They do a really good job. And I always love it. I always love going to each one of the different levels and seeing like what they've cooked up and whatnot. I mean, even that one level with the downed helicopter, it's at nighttime and you're going in and whatnot. I mean, the whole thing is paced really well. It feels realistic, and the different things that are going on, I don't know, like the immersive factor has always been there. You Call of Duty is a very unique experience. It's very aggressive, very testosterone, very like, you.
Oh yeah, we're gonna take out that enemy over there. Get that big gun.
Yeah, exactly.
There'll be some explosions. I've been at the top of the mountain. I'm the cream of the crop. Cream of the crop.
But
Oh boy.
But no, like I've always really enjoyed what they've been able to cook up with every single one of these titles. So that's great. The sound is also
I was gonna mention the sound.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, again, are we surprised? No. They have some of the best Foley artists out there. They're probably at this point they have access to all kinds of military hardware and put those microphones everywhere, getting quality sounds.
Yeah, I wonder how. Yeah. Okay, we need some steel plates, kind of like a down helicopter. Okay, we're gonna put some microphones in there. Just fire a bunch of rounds at it. Bob, stay away from the target area. They're like, okay, I'm holding the microphone. Ping, 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 ping. Those are some pretty good sounds. I mean, that really did sound like it's like bullets were hitting metal. I mean, I've never been there. I mean, but that's how I would imagine it sounding. Is how they did it.
Yeah. I could just totally see. I got this vision in my head of like the Call of Duty Foley artists are like, okay, for this next recording, I need you to drop a Moab. The military's like, what? Trust me, Moab. We'll see what we can do about that, sir.
It's gonna take some risks.
Can you imagine the Foley artist? He's like, am I far enough away from this thing?
I knew I should have signed up for the extra health insurance.
Forget health insurance. How about some life insurance? But don't worry. It's going to be awesome. Hopefully I just won't be completely vaporized along with my equipment.
Yeah.
Because I'm not paying that back. Anyway.
Don't take that out of my check.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, the sound effects are fantastic.
Yeah.
The voice acting is also terrific. I just
Very
love
good.
it.
Yep.
It's worth noting, by the way,
Okay.
buy to the buy. Some Call of Duty games, when things get really intense, is that, and this happened more, I want to say, with like the World War II games, but there would be like kind of like this overwhelming cacophony of different people screaming things at you and at the situation and what the mission is, what the objectives are, that sort of thing. And I get it. Like the whole point of it is to create that sense of panic, create that sense of intensity. That's totally cool. It's just at certain times, like when the action was getting hot and everything else, that I couldn't understand. I couldn't like separate like who's shouting because they got shot versus who's shouting an objective versus like who's hooping and hollering because we just had like air support come through and level the. I mean, it's just all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna shoot this way and see what happens.
Just spray and pray. Yeah, that happened like towards the beginning to me. It was just about that helicopter episode where you had to take out the house first or clear the house anyway. And so like they were yelling at me, he's telling me to do something. I'm like, okay, there's guys in the background. I got my gun. Okay, I'm just gonna like pick somebody off and be like, you know, kind of look outside the rocket and like, pew! And I just get sniped. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And again, like 3 times, I go, you know what? I'm just gonna go do what I'm good at. And just run straight in. Straight in. And so that's what I did. I'm like, and I went side to side to side to side, and bullets are flying by, and I just went there and obliterated everybody.
You're just
zigzagging.
like,
okay, you did it good. I'm like, I don't even know that was what I was supposed to do.
Can you imagine if that was in reality? You're like, ah! You're like, what's that guy doing?
Man, the balls on that guy.
Indeedy Rudy.
Oh, man.
Now, one of the levels that I thought was a unique level was the whole, like, you're in the kind of this harbor. And so you got to do some swimming and stuff. And it's like, okay, cool. But this brings up the second issue that I had, which is like, Price is telling you, like, all right, Soap, I want you to get into the water and I want you to take out all these people. You can't use the gun. You must gotta use your knife.
Yeah, use your switchblade.
You gotta use a knife. And you gotta go a bit real quiet like. Oh, by the way, there's a boat searching the place, so you gotta be careful. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Clearly because, I gotcha, sir. Now the problem is like, so I I jump into the water. I'm like, whoosh, and it has all the cool, realistic bubbles and stuff.
Get involved!
And like, did they hear me? Apparently not. So then I'm like, up to the surface. And I'm like, so I'm like bobbing. I'm like treading water. I'm like, oh, this is kind of, I got my knife like this. Oh, this is kind of cool. All right. And I'm like, moving my way.
I'm pretty buoyant.
Yeah. Across the water. I'm like, okay, I see that guy. I got a shank. But these people are going to see me if I go over there. So I got to go under. I got to hold my breath and go underwater. I'm like, okay. How do I go underwater? So I'm sitting there like pushing all kinds of buttons. The game doesn't tell you at all how to dive. I'm stabbing the water and then I'm like shirking. And then I like take a flashbang. I'm like, tink. I'm like, throw that. Move with
and like the water goes up and around you. You're like, did it. That's how it's done.
I mean, like, I was literally pressing all. And again, you could totally hear me during that part of the stream where I'm getting so frustrated because I'm like, I don't know how to dive. Like, I'm sitting here like a fool with a knife, and I'm in the water next to this boat, and I can't do anything. I'm just like, I can swim on the surface, but that's not going to do anything. So, like, by complete literally going down the list of, okay, I know I have X amount of functions with these buttons. Let's just go down all of them and see what happens. And I was finally able to figure out, I have to look down and then not just click the left thumbstick. I have to press forward and click in order to dive down. I'm just like, guys, who kind of made an oopsie daisy on that? Again, that's the kind of situation I'm noticing. This isn't a huge deal, but it is a deal in the sense that they do such a great job of getting you immersed in this fantastic atmosphere with every single mission objective, every level that you're on, right? I'm in it. I'm totally loving it and everything else. And then this weird clunky UI situation, whether it's a lack of telling me because you don't go through a training mission. It's not like, this is how you dive. This is how you swim. This is how, they tell you on the fly, which is you'll notice in the level that I'm on, and this is no spoiler or whatever, you have a backpack. And so you can access your backpack and it has a variety of different types of things at your disposal and that sort of thing. So it's like, oh, okay. But again, it's like, why didn't they? Again, I'll have to go back through the footage. Maybe I missed it, but if I did, that had to have been a really subtle HUD element that just kind of went. Beep. And you're just kind of like, was that a wave? I don't. Anyway.
Well, there's another one, Russ. Maybe you did happen to go through the same thing where it was in the beginning, around that time, of course, within that first 4 hours. and you are the Mexican special ops.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so you're walking up there, and there was like a guy who's looking at someone through the fence. He's like, oh, all right, man, you're going to take him out. I go, okay. And I could see I have my pistol with a silencer on it. And I'm like, okay, shouldn't I have a knife or something else? I'm trying to switch my weapon. But you don't have your weapon drawn.
Yeah.
It's like in your holster or something. I walk up there. I walk up right to the back of the guy. And I'm like, I'm like, my hands are there. I'm like, what? I pull out the gun. Okay, pull out the knife. Pull out something. And the guy just goes, and like looks at me and goes, boom, 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 and shoots and like alerts the whole camp. I'm like, what is going on? Like, why can't I just like,
you like tap him on the shoulder. You're like, I have a gun. I don't know how to get to it. Can you tell me how I'm supposed to get to it?
or you can just walk away. I mean, I don't have to shoot you at all. I mean, I could have taken you out like 20 times already.
Or better yet, it's like, you're pressing the wrong button. So like, you have that flashlight. So you're constantly going behind the guy, and the guy's like, starts making shadow puppets and stuff. He's like, I don't know what's going on.
You see this? It's a turkey.
I don't think anyone's behind me, but this is fun.
Man.
This is a fun time waster.
The other guy's like,
Yeah. Price is like, really?
how'd you pass the academy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
So the game's pretty.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
But
yeah.
it's glitchy. A little bit.
Well, I wouldn't say glitchy. It's the user experience is not polished. That's the problem. Is that I think they must have run out of time, and I mean it's either that or maybe they're banking on the fact that if you're a hard duty Call of Duty fan, these are maybe they're the same controls from previous titles that I'm unaware of. I have no idea. But the point is that from a UI UX perspective, you have to assume that it's a new player to the game. And so, I'm not saying you have to like painstakingly handhold them through every little thing, but first of all, make sure that like when you, in the code, like make something actionable, like you can actually change your missile direction to inverted. Make sure that's super responsive, because especially like it's one thing if like you're standing there and there's nothing happening yet, right? Like, so you can kind of like goof around and everything else. When you're like watching this missile in the air flying hundreds of miles an hour, and there's not a whole lot of time between point A to point B, and they're like, giving you kind of a hard time actually activating invert. That's kind of an issue. And I get it. It's like, they don't want it to they don't want to detract from the excitement and the intensity of what they've just cooked up for the player. But at the same time, it's like, you've got to make sure that it actually is responsive. The other thing though, is more of like what I said earlier about how you need to have proper HUD engagement that just, it informs the end user how things work. And that way you don't have these kind of moments of awkwardness where you're just like, okay, I'm being taken out of the moment because I simply don't know how to do a certain type of function that is very much a mandatory for this particular mission.
Yeah, I agree.
Indeed, Steve. Indeed. It is interesting to think about with how, since I'm a bit farther along, I don't want to give you any spoilers about where I'm at. I'm not that much farther ahead of you. I think I may be like 1 or 2 levels ahead of you. But overall, again, I love the fact that like these fictional stories, and this is kind of similar to the Tom Clancy games, kind of harkening back more to like the Splinter Cell or like the GRAW titles, like GRAW 1, GRAW 2. Love those games for many reasons, one of which was the types of stories they were telling, although fictional, you could see playing out to a certain extent in real life. What I think is interesting about this game so far is, especially like I know you've played this part already, but you take on the Mexican operatives, the special forces, and seeing that wall on the border of Texas, I was like, wow, like that really brings it home, because that's been such like a hot button issue over the last few years and that sort of thing. But at the same time, like seeing like them doing the ladder and then them climbing up over it, and then even being on that side where, like, I don't know if you checked out the city skyline when you were up on top of the fence, but I mean, like, you know, it said Lone Star State, and like, I mean, there was definitely like a kind of a hyper aware reaction that I had as an American looking at this, where it's like, oh wow, like, here we are.
I know where that is. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, whoa, okay. And then on top of that, like when we're chasing down the bad guys and we're having to go into these American homes and that sort of thing, and you see kind of like this reaction of outrage among these citizens and whatnot. I mean, because again, it's this awkward situation where it's like, we're Mexican special forces, we're in American territory, we're not supposed to be there. But again, that's great storytelling. That you know, those types of situations are what make for memorable moments, and actually causes one to pause and kind of reflect on that.
Well, one of the memorable things, to me anyway, maybe they've done this in other Call of Duty games, but of course you're not supposed to shoot the civilians. I mean, and I don't. But anyhow, there's a part where it says, okay, you can hold left trigger to like aim at somebody just to kind of cool the situation down. Yeah. And there's plenty of times where people are like, get off my lawn, who are you? Sort of, maybe not get off my lawn, but anyway, like you're breaking into people's houses trying to look for a guy, and people are waking up out of dead sleep and coming at you with a bat.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're innocent, so you're not supposed to take them out. But there was a time where somebody just clocked me with a bat, and like, I'm basically bleeding on the screen. And at first I shot him, and then the game was over. I had to restart, and then I'm like, "Oh man, I'm not supposed to shoot that guy," and so I didn't. And he, of course, he came at me again, and he hit me, and I didn't shoot. And then he backed off, like, "Oh, okay, you're special forces. Okay, you're looking for somebody. I don't know, I'm sorry." And there's other times where they'll tell you, keep an eye on them, and so you have your gun pointed. And then you'll relax, and then they'll start to reach for something. You're like, no. The little things like that. And you almost can't trust everybody.
Oh, yeah. It keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Or like there'll be a woman screaming, but she's part of the cartel. But at first she's just like an innocent lady. You're like, okay, I'm not going to touch you.
Yeah, yeah.
And then she just pulls out some machine gun somewhere, or maybe from somebody who had fallen. And I'm like, got to be on my toes.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a lot of music in this.
No.
Either. And I kind of appreciate that in a way. It kind of makes it a little bit more realistic.
Yeah, the only time that I notice music playing is when there's kind of more of a cinematic moment that's going on. I really love that one cinematic scene where it's that same area that we've been discussing, and the police show up.
Right.
That was really cool because the officers who were not informed, I mean, they were looking at these guys as potential terrorists, or, who are these guys with these automatic weapons? And the Mexican special forces are like trying to explain, no, we're on your side. Like, we're trying to find this one person. And then you had kind of the sheriff or senior sergeant, or whoever it was, basically the person who received the phone call and knew what was going on. And then you have that event transpire, and, it's such a trademark signature Call of Duty type of thing, which I love. I always eat that stuff up. I think it's great. So looking forward to it. I'm curious to know how many levels there are total in the story, just because I've been enjoying what I've been seeing so far. And I would say half of what I've experienced has been kind of a rinse and repeat kind of thing, where like I've done that in previous Call of Duty games. Not a bad thing, but they're also not reinventing, well, not reinventing, but they're not exploring new ideas with those levels. At the same time, though, to be fair, like the other half are, to my knowledge, new types of approaches to things. And I think that's really cool too. So, you get a bit of the old, a bit of the new.
That's right. But I am hoping that for $70, Russ, they're going to give us quite a campaign.
Smackers.
If it's a short campaign, probably not going to be that thrilled. Some of these campaigns that are definitely long. Some of them are definitely short.
Yeah.
Which got me thinking, because when I was downloading it, it gave me an option. Okay, you want to go ahead and download all the content, or you just want to go ahead and download the base game and the campaign? I'm like, that's literally all. I'm not ever going to play the multiplayer. Don't have time. Like, there's plenty of other stuff I want to play more. I'm never going to play the multiplayer. So either I wish they would say, okay, if you're going to play the whole entire game, you're going to play the multiplayer, you're going to play the campaign, you're going to do everything, charge you full price. If you're not going to, and you're not going to play the multiplayer at all, we're not going to charge you for it, and of course you won't have access to it. I would think that'd be kind of a better deal, because if like the campaign turns out to be like 6 hours or 10 hours or something, I paid $70 for, a 10-hour game and that's it. That'd be kind of, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's the way it is, but I mean, it's possible.
I think that's one of the aspects that we can count ourselves lucky on being Xbox owners, is that Xbox acquired Activision Blizzard, so they now own Call of Duty. And I think moving forward, like, this game was probably on the books in terms of contractual obligations and that sort of thing, and so it's going to probably appear on like the PS5 and so on and so forth. Moving forward from this game, or maybe the next game, I'm, as an outsider looking in, I have no idea. However, I do think that we're going to be in a position to not have to worry about what the price is, because they'll make it available on Game Pass. That'll be a Game Pass type of experience. And so as a result, we get to save $70 on every Call of Duty that comes out, which that's pretty awesome.
That is. That's probably why they're charging the most right now. I'm just kidding.
Well, and did you hear about how the next gen games, how there is going to be this eventual kind of embracing, like most, if not all of the newer games are going to go for that $70 price tag?
Inflation, Russ.
They're increasing it by 10 smackers. I did try the multiplayer on this game a little bit.
Oh.
And I sucked. It was so bad.
Nothing new then.
I don't know what it is, because I'm decent at a lot of first-person shooter games. I mean, Overwatch, I can hold my own. Counter-Strike, I can hold my own. I'm not the best, but I can hold my own. Halo, another one I'm good at. And it's, for some reason, in Call of Duty, the multiplayer is just different. The way that the gameplay is executed, I'm awful. I don't know what's going on. And I think one of the things about it that I don't care for is, like, to give you an idea, like in this situation, I think it was like 5v5 or 6v6, something like that. So it was like, it's a medium-sized map, and it was predominantly around like these, like, it was like an American embassy.
Making up words as we go.
Wow, that was just a cross. It was like a cross between an ambassador and an embassy.
Embassy?
Sorry.
Ambassador, embassy, and badass.
Yeah. Anyway, the level itself, I mean, it looks, once again, like the production value of the level is great. Everything looks really, really cool. The thing is, though, is that in a game like Call of Duty, psychologically speaking, my mind thinks about, okay, we need to stick together as a squad. This is a very, military focused game. But that doesn't happen. It's like you're in multiplayer and everybody just runs amok and everybody goes their own. It's like trying to herd cats. It just doesn't happen. But one of the things that I think is unrealistic is, like, you basically have people on both sides of the team just sprinting 24/7. Like, they're sprinting through the halls and they're jumping and and I'm kind of walking around doing my thing, and then boom, someone gets me, and then, like, it shows instant replay and you see this guy like boom. I'm like, this is not realistic. Like, the game itself has made a concentrated effort to be realistic, and humans don't. If you were in a situation, that's not how you would move. That's not how you would behave, or anything else like that. Now, it would make sense, like, if you're playing Fortnite or you're playing Overwatch, and you're bouncing around like a jackrabbit and everything. It's like, it's a cartoon. Sure, that's appropriate. But for something like this, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't click with me.
Yeah. And
on top of that, I mean, I was like bottom of the list in terms of performance. I was like, dude, this is
kills -1.
I was just curious because I wanted to see, hey, did things change or whatever? No, it's the same thing. And it's the manner of which it happens too. Like, when you watch these players run around, again, because there is such an emphasis on trying to make the game, like, realistic, like real life, you know, you see everything looks great, but then you see these players like moving unrealistically fast through everything, and you're just like, no, it doesn't. I don't know. Anyway, for those that actually do love the Call of Duty multiplayer, have at it. That's awesome. I'm just not good at it. I can't connect with it, and that's cool. You know,
It's awesome.
I've got plenty of other games I can do that with. And this is nothing new. I mean, for me, it's like, you know, I buy Call of Duty because I love the single player campaign.
That's right.
As do you. You know, I'm a big fan of a story.
That's
I
right.
love that cinematic kind of experience. And especially considering the fact that a lot of those aforementioned Tom Clancy titles, they've kind of gone away. Like I haven't seen, I think we might be seeing a return, a resurgence, a resurfacing of Splinter Cell. Tom Fisher might be,
I thought we saw something.
Sam Fisher, excuse me.
Tom Fisher.
I love,
Fisherman.
Yeah, I love the Splinter Cell series. That's one of my all-time favorite series. Any closing remarks there, Steve?
No, Russ, I'm gonna finish the game. I'm looking forward to it. I can stick out a game. I gotta turn it up loud. I want to hear some gunfire, some tanks, some background ricochets. You know, I want to hear all that stuff. But like I said earlier, I really want to get my money's worth with it from how I play the game. I'm hoping, you know, one thing else that I saw was there was instances where a lot was happening and there was like a bit of like a stutter or a slowdown, if you will. And I'm hoping that was just maybe a loading section of the game. It was not going to keep doing that throughout the rest of the game. I'm hoping there's not going to be these continual bits of unpolishedness where I'm like figuring out I'm just going to run amok and then eventually whatever's going to happen is going to happen and I'm going to shoot my way out sort of thing. But those are little things, Russ. Overall, I'm glad to be playing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a blasty blast, you might say.
Oh, no pun intended, yes.
Exactly. No, but having a lot of fun with it. I look forward to continuing through the story mode. I love Price and Soap. Those two guys, and you know, it'd be interesting to see like if there are some other characters in this one that perhaps will make a return. Who knows? But I love. I don't know. I think it's great to be able to continue developing certain characters over many games.
Sure.
Forge that relationship. That
All right.
virtual relationship, you know? That wraps up this episode of Joygasm. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you enjoyed this episode, we invite you to check out patreon.com/joygasm. Spelled JOYGASM, where you can enjoy exclusive perks and early access to the show. Not to mention, it continues helping us financially doing the podcast. Also, make sure you click on that subscribe button as well as that notification bell. That way you will not miss a single solitary episode of Joygasm that drops once a week each week. And while you're at it, you could, in fact, do a search for @JoygasmTV on your favorite social media platform of choice. Last but not least, do a search for Joygasm TV on Twitch to see us stream our gaming adventures live every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. We are going to be looking forward to hanging out with all of you once again next week when we review Black Panther Wakanda Forever. It's going to be a doozy. Can't wait. We'll see you then.